Aloha, everybody. Welcome to the
Hello.
February meeting of the Waikiki Neighborhood Board. We have a busy schedule tonight. Mr. Brown is not able to be with us tonight. We ask if you speak, please say your name. Our speaking limit for people from the audience providing testimony is 2.5 minutes. For presentations, I usually give whatever necessary for that. First on our agenda would be the Honolulu Fire Department, and I don't see them here. In their written report, which I forgot to bring, they mentioned that for those of you interested in if they use their siren, they are following the law as much as possible, but it's still driver's discretion if he feels it's dangerous. Yes. Please use the mic.
Yesterday, I was in Vietnam, and there's a big city, Da Nang, that I was in, and they have ambulances too. And to compare the noise that the ambulance make here to there is like day and night. And so they can turn those things down if they want to. I'm assuming that, but it's just day and night. I just wanted to make that point. Thank you.
Thank you. Said another Amber Alert going off. Thing keeps going all day, and they caught the guys. Next, we have the Honolulu Police Department, Lieutenant.
Hi. Oh gosh, that's really loud. Hi, good evening. My name is Lieutenant Pamela Liu. I work here in Waikiki. I'm here to give you our stats. Okay, so for last month, actually looks good. The robberies when we only had one reported robbery. The month prior, we had 10. That looks good. Burglary is pretty much the same. We had 8. The month before, we had 9. Thefts also about the same. 127. The month before, we had 39. UMV, which means when someone breaks into the car, we had 15. The month before is 21. Assaults, 34. The month before, we had 38. Sex crimes, we had 5 reported cases for the month prior. Speaking of sirens, we wrote 7 citations for bicycle and skateboards on sidewalk, as opposed to the month before we had 26. Speeding citations, we gave out 23. The month prior, we gave out 7. Parking, we gave out a couple more hundred than usual. That's 1,693. The month before, we gave out 1,300. Loud muffler, we had 9 citations as opposed to 0 the month before. Park closures also up. We did 41 as opposed to 19. The calls for service pretty much stayed the same. This month we had 4,417, and the month before we had 4,345. Just so you know, I think last month we met with Mr. Finley about concerns about speeding and pedestrian violations on Kapahulu Avenue. So I just happy to report in the last 2 days, it is part of the community project that we have. So in the last 2 days, we wrote 51 citations, just various, whether it's pedestrian, driver violations, speeding. And then we're also going to put our message board asking drivers to slow down along the Kapahulu roadway. We're going to have that on the park side, the zoo side. We're just waiting for authorization from the park to put that there. So that's like a solar message board, so it can stay up as long as it's sunny.
Thank you. Questions, Daniel?
Hello. A couple questions. First of all, this list you distribute with the offenses and the numbers you just read off, I've noticed there's been some changes. For instance, there's no jaywalking on here. Is there a reason why sometimes?
Was that on there?
It's been on there previously. I'm just wondering, is there a decision process going into what?
You know, I've been doing these board meetings for quite some time, and there was some time where some boards are asking for some violations that are really specific for their neighborhood. And at one point, from what I understand, HPD just kind of cued in on just these specific, to give these specific stats.
I just,
There's jaywalking, maybe it was on there. I don't recall. I can find out.
sure, it was on there and I just noticed it was this.
Okay.
So, if we could keep it consistent. And then loud muffler, you know, this is a thing I've made a lot of noise about, no pun intended, I guess. 9 is really not acceptable to me. There was a period when I was making a lot of noise on this neighborhood board about mufflers where those numbers went up to 30, 35, 36, and it was like 3 months in a row. After that, it dropped down to 0 in the previous month. I guess the previous month would have been November because this is December 2023 numbers. But you know, 9, I think there was a number, I thought the 9 was from last meeting as well. But I'd like to see this higher. And has there been any prioritization? I mean, can you explain why there was 3 months worth 30 violations and then it dropped down significantly once again?
Sorry, what was the 30?
Well, it's loud muffler. There was a few months in which I really made this an issue on the neighborhood board and those numbers went up to 30 per month. So it's not on here, but again, there was a period, 3 months in a row.
I'm not sure. I can't speak to the month that you're talking about. Perhaps there was a complaint or there was a special project for that month. 30 is quite high.
It was for
I
3
don't-
months.
I don't recall that.
I guess you're making me ask, I think of another question. Who decides which officer comes to this meeting? Because there's a rotation. And I think I've been on for 16 months now, and there's not been a consistent officer.
Okay, yeah, good question. There are currently 3 lieutenants that work in this area. That's what I am. So we are on a 3-13 schedule, so we work 3 days for 13 or 13 and a half hours. So normally you get one of the 3 of us. Sometimes it could be the major or the captain that could come, or maybe a sergeant, but is there,
Well, I think the fact that, I mean, it was just 6 months ago in which there was 30 some odd violations per month for loud muffler, and now you have no recollection or knowledge of that whatsoever. It would be nice to have some consistency and information and, you know, presence from the HPD, because we're all here for periods of 2 years, you know, and we're trying to use this time to make progress in our community. And when you have a revolving door of people representing the people we're here to discuss, it makes it difficult for us to accomplish and bring attention to our issues.
okay, I will make note of that. I will tell our major.
I have a question.
Yes. Who is it? Where did they come from?
I'm on audio. My name is Helen, and my question is, what are we doing about the influx of graffiti all over Waikiki, especially on the alleyway behind the food pantry at Hobron Lane?
Oh, good question. Thank you. That is
It's out of control.
yeah, unfortunately, that is private property. We have been in contact with the property owner, and we always encourage every private property owner to make a case. So I believe they have made cases for that. As far as painting it out, we do always encourage complainants or business owners to paint it out as soon as possible. Being that that is a kind of an abandoned property, I'm not sure exactly what they're going to use it for. It's kind of, it's
I'm
difficult.
sorry.
That's going to be up to them.
Is that Seaside
It-
and
it-
Coville?
Yeah,
Is that
no,
Seaside
it's
and Coville?
Alawai and Hobron Lane.
Yeah,
And it's not
that's-
abandoned because the
Oh.
landlord rented out for parking. And now this is now becoming your problem because as of yesterday, these idiots have run out of space and now they're graffitiing the sidewalk. So that's public property, which lands in your jurisdiction.
Okay, well, thank you for reporting that. I'll have somebody check on that, but I'm thinking,
Yeah,
do you have the address for that
No.
property?
yeah, well, if we confirm, ma'am, I think you're talking about the one-story white building, which was a commercial building with the blue awning.
That's the one I'm thinking
Oh,
about.
yeah.
Officers are
It-
there.
Yeah, is that the one
I'm
you're talking
looking
about?
at it right now for my lanai. It's a white on, it's
Yeah.
a cream awning.
Yeah, yeah.
It always has
it's
cars
awful.
parked in there.
Yeah.
It's been vacant for a long time, but the landlord rents the parking stalls to people, renting their cars on Turo and the tour
Yeah,
buses and the tour vans. But now
Yeah, I've heard a
I'm
lot of
looking at it right
complaints
now.
with that.
It's on the roof, it's on the windows,
Yeah,
it's on the walls,
we know.
sidewalks. Yeah.
Uh,
So
They did apply for a building permit at that location for a new mid-rise condominium complex, multi-unit complex. So I'm thinking, not that, the building itself is going to be gone here shortly, when they get issued their building permit. That doesn't make it any more acceptable that there's graffiti all over it. But the building you're looking at will be demolished here shortly when they get issued the building permit. And then they do have approval to build, again, a mid-rise building. I think it's going to be 5 or 6 stories, and it's going to occupy the property. So I hear you on the graffiti, but that is in flux currently as we speak. So the building will be gone,
all over
graffiti
town.
will be gone. Yeah. All right. Thanks for bringing that up.
Anything else for Honolulu Police Department? Yes, please use a microphone over here.
Hello. I would say the last month, maybe 2 months, I've seen a lot of motorcycles. They look like motocross bikes. They must be street legal. Hopefully they are. People riding wheelies. So they're on their rear tire for a block or more. Wondering if you issue tickets for that, if you have any idea.
And you,
Amy Ammon.
Sorry, so you're asking if we issued any citations for that? I would have
Or
to-
if you've been on alert for that. I don't know. Maybe I'm just out at a certain time and coincidentally, I've seen it a lot more lately,
Okay,
but it concerns me.
sure, sounds dangerous. So they're motorcycles, not like an e-bike or anything
No.
like that? You think it's more of a motorcycle?
No, it looks like a motocross bike.
Motocross bike, okay.
That's the style. So I don't know exactly what it is.
Shucks, we haven't really had a whole lot of complaints, maybe because they go through so quick. But I
Right.
mean, but I do encourage you, as soon as you see that, please call us and say, yeah, they're going a high rate of speed, but we're further down the street, we'll catch them. So you give a good description, maybe what the driver's wearing and maybe the color of the motorcycle, et cetera. And then also when you make the call, just say, hey, can't really meet with the officer, but they're welcome to call me. That way we can get a better description, right? Or if you can identify them, that kind of thing. So we do encourage that. Please call us.
And Amy, do you find that it's usually like 8 to 9 at night, like down Kuhio, and then they do a circle around and down Kalakaua?
They may be doing it at that time, but I've seen it during daylight hours.
Oh, okay. Because I see them
Ah.
meet down towards the aquarium. And then they have a whole group of them, and then they do the lap, the Waikiki, Kuhio to Kalakaua lap.
Okay.
What time is that at?
It's about 8:30 PM.
Yep.
Every Friday, it's at 8 to 9,
Oh, every Friday.
Friday and Sunday night.
Easy. Thank you.
thank you. Thank you. Don't see any other hands. Thank you, Lieutenant. Appreciate you being with us.
Thank you. Have a good night.
I'm sorry, did I miss someone? Okay. Okay, Next on our agenda, we have Board of Water Supply. A man who you see on TV all the time, Mr. Ernie Lau, is here to do the presentation.
So I'm Stephen Nordstrom. I'm with the Board of Water Supply. And before Ernie Lau goes over some of our Q&A questions on our water rates, just wanted to let you know that we had no main breaks in the Waikiki Neighborhood Board District for the last month. And our announcement today, of course, is to remind you that we have a double the rebate on our toilet rebate. So it's $100. It's a 1.28 gallon per flush or less toilet. It's a great way to save some money and to save some long-term savings on your water bill. So you can get more information on that. We have a flyer in the back, or you can go to our website, boardofwatersupply.com/rebates. And we all know Ernie, so he's going to go over our presentation tonight.
Isn't there a main break? Poakalani and Lemon, like 5 days ago that shut down?
So So we do main breaks the month prior. So this would be in the month of January. So yeah, next month we'll probably report on that. Yeah. Good question though. Yeah.
Any other questions for regular service from Board of Water Supply? Seeing none. Thank you. Now comes the bad news.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Ernie Lau, Manager for the Board of Water Supply. Here to talk about the water rates, but actually, maybe the simple explanation is there is a flyer or bulletin that's with you all, Water Matters, and it talks about the 5-year rate schedule that the board adopted back in November of last year over the next 5.5 years. Our customers, so the Board of Water Supply, we're financially self-sufficient. We get no property tax revenue from the city. People paying their water bills, that's how we pay for the operation and maintenance of the island-wide water system of the Board of Water Supply, which serves almost 1 million people every day with safe drinking water, including Waikiki usually uses about 11 million gallons a day on a daily average basis. So that island-wide water system takes a lot of money and resources to operate the system and also to maintain it. So for this fiscal year, 2024, we're projecting that we're going to get about $276 million to operate the water system. About 1/3 of that will go toward supporting the renewal and replacement of old water lines to reduce main breaks over time, repair of pumping stations, development of new wells, maintenance of our treatment systems. So that's what we call our capital improvement program. For this year, it's about $200 million. The rest of the $276 million, or the other 2/3, goes toward the operation and maintenance of the water system, including the workforce that we need to operate the system, about 550 people right now. So each year, it takes a lot of money to operate our island-wide system. And remember, the Board of Water Supply, to be able to serve almost 1 million people, we have about 2,100 miles of water mains around the island. And unfortunately, they vary in age, from very new pipelines put in with the newer developments to pipelines over 100 years old. And because of that, we do have main breaks on occasion. So that's the challenges. Again, now talking about the water rate increases. So we looked over the next 5.5 years what our revenue requirements would be each year to finance the operation maintenance and also finance our capital program. We project in the next 5.5 years, we're going to need to have a capital program over $1 billion worth of improvements in our infrastructure to keep it going. So our customers, we have about 172,000 customers island-wide. These are people with water meter, with customer accounts, and they're divided into different classes of customers. Stephen, if you can go back. Single family, multi-unit residential, agricultural customers, non-residential, and non-potable and recycled water customers. So the majority of our customers are actually single family customers, over 90% of the 172,000. Next, please. So the rates that the board adopted are 2 increases this calendar year, which actually is 2 fiscal years for us. On February 1st, this month, increase of 10% across all customer classes. And then on July 1st, the next fiscal year, which is still the calendar year of 2024, another 10% increase. And then thereafter, increases of 9.5%, 9%, 8.5%, and 8% and 8% each July of each year. These increases are necessary to meet the funding needs that we have to pay for the operation and the improvement of our water system. At this point, I'll kind of pause and see if there's any questions, Chair. I didn't want to leave a lot of time for Q&A from the board to be respectful of your time.
Board members, do you have questions from Board of Water Supply? I don't see a whole lot. John?
Yes, sir.
Just personal comment. My name is John Dutzman, live in Waikiki. Really appreciate your going up against the Navy in Red Hill. I've been around the dial a few times, New York, Miami. I've never seen a public servant like you stick his neck out and everybody else was, oh, it's the US Navy, I'm afraid. You did. I appreciate it. It's worth it. Whatever you want for increase, go for it, brother. Thank you.
Other
thank-
board members? Go ahead, sir. Anybody online? Nobody online? Tim?
I have a question. Hello?
Where'd that come from?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a question for him. He mentioned that there would be a new source of wells. Can you explain, are we tapping into a different source of aquifers?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I kind of go back to mahalo, sir, for the comment on Red Hill. It's a team effort at the Board of Water Supply. But also, sir, just to say mahalo, but we are just doing our job. We're doing our kuleana as public servants, protecting the resource that is vital to our community. And it's been a long 10-year road for us. Because of Red Hill too, and I would say Red Hill is not the main driver for our water rates. When we look at our projected 6-year CIP for the next, it's about $1.26 billion of projects. Red Hill only constitutes about 6% of those project costs over the next 6 years, or about $76 million. The majority of it is really needed to renew and replace aging infrastructure, but also we need to invest in new sources to develop, handle new development, because there's a big push for affordable housing for our community right now. And also the island continues to grow. So we want to be there to support it with adequate infrastructure. We are developing new wells in different parts of the aquifer. In the Red Hill area, we have 3 wells still shut down because my position is I do not want to put hydrocarbon contaminated water in this water system of Honolulu and Aiea because I still see the challenges the Navy has with their own water system serving Joint Base Pearl Harbor Hickam. They still have detections of petroleum hydrocarbons 2 years after the contamination event, the awful contamination event in 2021. So these new sources are tapping different areas of the aquifer. So we are developing new wells in the Pearl Harbor area, on the looking at the windward side too, and also going out into the Eva area to help meet the demands of our community.
Thank you. Tim?
Yeah, good evening, Ernie. We talked about this in the past at City Council.
You look familiar.
Yeah, thanks. We need to push stronger with desal plans. There's been remarkable advancement. MIT came out a couple months ago. New system cut the cost in half, right? We're surrounded by water. 2,000 miles. Look any way, that's water. So instead of drilling, we need to put our capital in desal plants. The west side, which is always crying for water, there's issues now about a new surfing park, and all that can be taken care of by desal plants. You could put 4 on each side of the island. Maui, Lahaina, in their planning, even though that's not your responsibility, they should be building a desal plant right now. They've been fighting over water for decades, and we're surrounded by water. There's many countries around the world where all their water comes from desal. So instead of drilling new wells, and I know you got a pilot project out on the west side, you need to push this really hard before you quit, before you retire. You
Yes,
need to
sir.
push that. I've been pushing it with our state, with the mayor, with everybody. You guys are kind of autonomous, but we need to put pressure on our senators, our governor, everything. We got water. There's no question about it. We got so much water, we don't know what to do. Completely surrounded by it. And with the technology, it's only going to get cheaper and cheaper to process this. So I wish you would strongly push this. Instead of the same old, we won't have any water issues down the line. And the byproduct of taking the salt out of the water, has anybody here bought Hawaiian salt? Sea salt? They sell it. It's like $15 for a little buck. That would help create revenue. So I would really appreciate it if you would push the hell out of this. Thank you, Ernie.
Thank you, sir. I'll just tell you a little story. I've been in government service now. This is my 45th year serving the public. In 1990, I was a young engineer at the Board of Water Supply looking at desalination. I thought we needed to actually get involved in desal before we get into a crisis situation where we're in a long multi-year drought and our freshwater resources are diminishing because rainfall is falling less over our Po'olau and Waianae mountains to recharge. I'll just say that we do have a actual desalination plant project underway. It's in the permitting stage right now, going through the permitting process. And I know desal is not an easy project to permit, but we already have a company under contract to design, build, and operate and maintain a desal plant. That is operate maintenance for a 20-year period. But the idea is to get into desalination, go through the challenges of permitting it and build it and put it into operation. Because right now for drinking water, we are 100% dependent on underground aquifers, which originates from rain, the ua that falls on our watersheds. We are vulnerable because we have not diversified our water resources. And yes, we are an island community. We can't bring water from the Colorado River or any place else from another state. Our water is what we have under our feet in underground aquifers right now. But we need to look at diversification. Desalination is one. Reuse of wastewater. Right now, we're doing that up to 10 million gallons a day in the Ewa Plain, coming from the Honolulu wastewater treatment plant. We need to do more of that. We need to look at development also being more water efficient and sustainable on site. So reuse of water within the projects themselves, within the buildings, maybe gray water recycling, capturing rainfall when the rains come and reusing it for irrigation, or even replacing coolant water for cooling towers for air conditioning. All of those things we need to do as a community. But thank you, sir. We are on that path and I appreciate your support on that.
Any other questions for Mr. Lau? Seeing none, thank you for being with us tonight. And some applause for him taking more money from us.
Thank you, everybody. Mahalo.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for your service.
Okay, next on our agenda, we have citizens' concerns for areas not covered in the regular agenda. And if you were talking about legislation, that will be down on the agenda later. Anybody with something we need to hear about? John, and we're going to cover the bills for criminal activities.
Yeah, I get that. I just wanted to, this is a public meeting and this goes public. I just want to keep saying and hammer it home that 2 years ago, this place was a disaster. Described it as an outdoor jail psychiatric center, which it was. That wasn't exaggeration. We've made such a difference in the past 2 years. It's a new community. The troublemakers no longer run Waikiki. We still got some problems, but little by little, they're going away. And this has been a united front from this board, from our police department, from our senator, from our House of Representatives leader, from our mayor, prosecutor. We're all on the same page here. I've never seen anything like this, and I was in television news for 30 years. Had a lot of smoke blown up, you know what, in that time. This time the smoke is working. Just want to thank everybody involved.
Thank you, John. Any other concerns? Just state your name again, please.
Amy Ammon. Again, the Waikiki has not been restriped on Kuhio and Kalakaua. Not only is it the bike lanes, but also it's the traffic lanes. I was biking today and there's a little white that you can detect on the pavement, and it's supposed to be a straight arrow turn or a right turn. I'm sorry, straight or right turn. How does anybody know if you can't see it on the pavement? So I'm just wondering, and maybe this is something that I should be asking the mayor's office about, when that will be done.
They may be holding off until they repave Kalakaua, which is about to start. But our mayor's rep is not with us tonight. But can you make a note for mayor's rep? What specific street are you talking about?
Kalakaua and Kuhio. Kalakaua and Kuhio. Well, the crossing streets, yes. But the main drags, to have no paint on them in certain areas, dangerous.
Thank you. Get that to the mayor's rep. Hey, Tim.
Yeah, real quick. I noticed under public events, parade, festival. Last year, we talked about the enormous amount of activity on Kalakaua and the streets being closed. I just want to keep that in everybody's forefront. It seems like everybody's talked about it. I talked to Blangiardi, I talked to Roger Morton and everything. And then I see parade, race, festival, parade. So if we can just keep that in mind.
We have a permitted interaction group that's supposed to report to us later in the agenda. Don't see any other questions. Moving on to what Tim was talking about, the public events. February 10, 5:30 p.m. to midnight. We just had this. March 10, 7:15 a.m. to 1 p.m. Honolulu Rainbow Ikaiki race. Sunday, March 10th, 3:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. Honolulu Festivals Parade. March 19th, check that, March 17th, 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. the annual St. Patrick's Day Parade. Wednesday, April 5th, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. the Salute to Youth Parade is back. There are many events at Kapiolani Park that I don't record on here. Applications for liquor licenses, I got some the day after the agenda was published, and they'll be on next month's agenda. Mayor's representative. Nola cannot be with us tonight, and she has a written report from the mayor to the board. This month's highlights from the mayor's newsletter: how bright yellow rescue tubes are making our beaches safer. I don't know if you've seen those on TV where you grab this rescue tube and throw it at someone. First responders jump into action during an emergency at January's city council hearing. Glad to hear that. I guess they saved the life. Kahuku community, which is not really us, meets to discuss a new swimming pool, recreation center, something that's going to affect Neighborhood Board 5. An authentic hula show prepares to debut at the Waikiki Shell. This one is going to be along the lines of the Kodak Hula Show that some of you are old enough to remember, maybe not all of you. And it's going to be a daytime performance several days a week, followed by a nighttime luau thing. And there was a new sculpture unveiled in Honolulu's Inha Park. Not sure exactly where that's at. Reports from the last meeting. Oh, okay, this adds. Honolulu Zoo was nominated for Best Zoo in America by USA Today 10 Best Readers' Choice Awards. For the first time, the Honolulu Zoo has been nominated as a candidate for Best Zoo in America 2024 by USA Today 10 Best Readers' Choice Award. A panel of industry experts and editors selected Honolulu as one of America's top 20 zoos in the running for Best Zoo in the country. A voting period of 28 days will determine which zoos are named to the top 10. Starting February 5th at 7 a.m. Honolulu Standard Time, the public will be able to vote once a day, every day until March 4th at 6:59 a.m.
Please vote. If you go to the mayor's website, they have a way to vote for
I was
the,
about to tell them that. The,
vote every day. Vote
the
twice.
site that you go to is https://www.honoluluzoo.org. And just like you, I encourage everybody to vote every day on that. If you need that again, it's basically www.honoluluzoo.org. Please support our zoo. Next one is Neighborhood Commission Office is hiring neighborhood board assistants to engage in public awareness for the community support. Neighborhood assistants help coordinate with the neighborhood board chairs and produce written reports to members of the public. If you want to work there, please send your resume at nco@honolulu.gov or call the NCO at 808-768-3710. Follow-ups. High voltage line exposed on Powell Kalani Avenue, which is right here. Member Brown, who is not with us tonight, raised safety concerns about an exposed high voltage cable at 207 Powell Kalani Avenue. DPP address 207 Powell Kalani, and it gives the tax map and all that. The owners of the apartment submitted a building permit, application number A2023-07-0100 which is under current review for the cable fault restoration. So if you were concerned about the bad cable last month, this is the city's response. Ethics advice. Member Worth is seeking for ethical advice on the neighborhood board members. It's not to register a complaint. Is there some information that can be provided? NCO, board members should follow section 2-13-104 standards of conduct in the neighborhood plan. If an individual believes a board member violated this section, they should file a formal complaint using the complaint form found on the NCO website at www.honolulu.gov/NCO. Crosswalk safety concerns. There has been repeated concerns from board members and residents about 3 crosswalks on Kapahulu, Rio Avenue to Kalakaua. Is it possible to schedule a site visit and for the meantime, have orange temporary billboards to warn drivers of heavy pedestrian traffic? The suggestion came from me. DTS will perform an investigation, which will include research, site observation, field assignments, and a review of the traffic collision history, and will inform the board of the status of their investigation by August 2024. As you heard Lieutenant Liu earlier, HPD is down there picketing speeders and will be putting up a temporary sign announcing the speed limit in this area. And at the meeting I attended, we've asked for a survey of the whole area to see what can be done, crosswalk painting and that sort of thing. And HPD, the major will get back to us. We're hoping in March. So I've asked them to try to be here in March. CDL trainers, I raised an issue about the shortage of licensed CDL, which is commercial driver's licenses. Those are the guys that drive the trash trucks. They drive the Roberts Tours. Anything big, they have to have a commercial driver's license. Are the CDL drivers training from the city? Is there training from the city that can help with the trash companies? Unfortunately, no. The Department of Customer Service, CSD, does not have commercial drivers licensed CDL trainers. Rather, CSD has CDL examiners who administer the examination necessary to obtain a commercial driver's license. CSD's CDL examiners do not train applicants. It's a potential conflict of interest for our CDL examiners to be trainers. Sorry, that doesn't seem to solve the problem. I understand that not just the trash haulers are short 40 or 50 drivers, but the city is actually short drivers to do the city's trash pickup. That was not on the report. Beach permits, a resident asked how much do people pay to get permits to set up chairs and other equipment on the beach. Beach parks for rental, also do catamaran companies pay a fee to do so? How much are the various fee schedules? DES, beach services, including surfboard lessons, chairs, umbrella rentals, are run by the city's concessionaires, who are selected via a bid solicitation process. There are no permits issued for the rental of beach equipment outside of the concessionaires. This question should be referred to DPR. DPR, a permit is required for groups of 50 or more who wish to gather at city parks. Permits may include conditions for equipment, sound and usage restrictions depending on the park. The permit cost is free, but a deposit is required for groups over 100, and it does not say how much the deposit is. That is NOLA's report for this month. If we have any other questions for the mayor, I don't see any. We'll get her next month again. That would be the mayor's representative. Councilmember Tommy Waters has a representative. Well, he is in DC in the snow, I believe.
Good evening. My name is April Colorado. I'm the senior advisor to Chair Tommy Waters. As Chair Finley said, Chair Waters is currently at the National Association of Counties. He's actually on the board of NACO, and they're meeting in DC this week. And so that is why he can't be with you this evening. I have passed out his report. There's extra copies on the back table. You can also get it online. It's the blue one this month. Passed it out. You can find it online at honolulucitycouncil.org/district4. And you just scroll down to the bottom of the page for newsletters. And you can read this newsletter as well as past ones. We have legislative updates on the second page. All of the resolutions that were mentioned were adopted by the full council on January 24. And I wanted to direct your attention to Resolution 23-162. This is our very first charter amendment that will be on the ballot in November. And in this year, because it is a year ending in the number 4, we will start a charter commission after the general election in November, and that will be for all proposals to be on the November 2026 ballot. Right now, when we introduce a resolution to be put on the ballot this year, because it's the year that we're going to constitute a charter commission, it has 3 readings as a resolution, and then the mayor signs it, and then it goes on to the ballot. So this is the first one, and this is to establish a climate resiliency fund. It was introduced by Chair Waters. It designates 0.5% of existing real property taxes. It is not a new tax, and this is to enhance resiliency and mitigate impacts from climate change. So it creates a special fund. Bill 40, which is mentioned further down on the report, is the Transit Construction Mitigation Fund. This was a fund that was developed several years ago, and this bill updated the terms and conditions of it. And it's now law as ordinance 24-1. It's the very first ordinance of the new year. And then Bill 61, which amends the Register of Exceptional Trees. We have exceptional trees. For example, the trees that line Halakawa Avenue going down on the side of Kapiolani Park. Those are the Claycorn Ironwood trees. Those are on the list. And so a few more trees got added on, and that's ordinance 24-2. This month, which is not in our report, these were just introduced last week. Chair Waters introduced 2 new resolutions. One is Resolution 24-30, and it requests the Departments of Parks, Facilities, Maintenance, and Design and Construction to provide an update regarding the installation and the maintenance of low-flow fixtures at city parks. We also have Resolution 24-31. It requests Honolulu Emergency Services Department. That's our department that has ambulances and also lifeguards. And the Budget and Fiscal Services Department to update the City Council on billing of ambulance services. Some of you may remember that that was handled by the state, and they paid the city to hire ambulances, and now it's paid for by the city taxpayers and billed by the city. So we asked for an update to see where we are at that. Our newsletter includes updates on the review draft of the Primary Urban Center Watershed Management Plan. Right now it is in a review draft, so we don't have it before us, but there's information on how to go and look it up and help Ernie out over there at BWS. We talked about the Lions Club donation of 20 rescue tubes. A lot of them were in our city council district, which, as you know, goes from the Alawai, Waikiki, all the way out to Makapu'u Lighthouse. And we talked about the great news that the city finally got possession of 1615 Alawai Boulevard. We also have a report that we get from the Department of Design and Construction on their CIP projects. So we provided that to you. As you know, we have a lot of CIP projects in the budget. Some are managed by Design and Construction. Some are managed, they're only super projects. Some are managed by Department of Facility Maintenance and so on. Some are the bus. So you're not going to see all of the projects in that report, but it's the one report that we get once a month. So we're going to start putting that in every newsletter. A couple weeks ago, Chair Waters accompanied the Waikiki Business Improvement District Association President Trevor Abarzua, I hope I didn't butcher his name, and his staff, and the deputies and directors of Department of Facility Maintenance. And I went on that walk too. We walked around Waikiki. One issue that came up was the repair of the bus shelter fronting 2420 Kuhio Avenue in front of Kuhio Gardens. And we're happy to report that our Transportation Services Department already has a project in the works. They inspected all of the shelters along Kuhio Avenue from Kanikapole to Kapahulu Avenues, and they're making repairs to two other bus shelters, Kuhio Ka'iulani and Kuhio and Lili Uokalani. Another issue that was discussed were food trucks on Kuhio Avenue. One was a collection of food trucks on the corner of Kapuni and Kuhio, and another was at 2456 Kuhio Avenue. It's basically across the street running a laundromat. And Chair Waters wanted to know if you folks have received any concerns about food trucks in Waikiki. And also, I heard you folks talking about 1701 Alawai Boulevard. A constituent had just asked about that. Someone had called our office and we did put in a request about the graffiti and also, what's going on. Because the building's not in use, but like someone said, the parking lot is. And so we know that the Department of Planning and Permitting is investigating. And lastly, in regards to private refuse collection in Waikiki, Chair Waters asked me to apologize for the delay in getting an answer to the board's question. We inquired with our city attorneys and we were told that technically the city could pass a law limiting hours of private refuse collection in Waikiki. However, there were other considerations. Therefore, Council Chair Waters is going to continue to work with the administration to seek solutions. He has already spoken with Managing Director Mike Formby, who has been working on this issue. And that's all I have, and I'm happy to take back questions.
Well, that was a lot.
It was a lot.
Jeff,
Yeah, big mahalo, you mentioned it, but big mahalo to Chair Waters for the 1615 Alawai. We all know that's been an unbelievable eyesore. It's awful, 2 blocks from my house, and it's been years. I know those things take forever, but we're really looking forward to getting that cleaned up, and it did take the whole community. So big mahalo to him and the team at the city. Okay.
other questions for Tommy Waters?
Two streets I'm a little concerned about. One is Tusitala. The one way when you come down, it's barely drivable because of the potholes. Really bad. Second one is Cartwright after 6 p.m. Try getting a car past the food trucks.
I believe Cartwright is privately owned. So I know that,
Allegedly.
yeah, allegedly, right. So I know I had spoken with the Department of Transportation Services about it a few months ago, and that's why nothing's really happening with that. We can look into Tusitala. I don't know the status of that.
The bad one if you just drive.
Any other questions? Tim, you're busy tonight.
Good evening. I was wondering if you could relate to Chair Waters. City Council has voted already to make ocean safety a independent department. And even Jim Ireland agreed that they should be their own department. The mayor's indicated, but it's been dragged out. There were numerous 9-0 votes on it, affirming the city council make them an independent department. There was a task force developed to study the issue. They came up with all the amounts that it would take to make them independent. And it's kind of stagnated. I would appreciate it if they would put it to a vote to put it on as a charter amendment, because I'm sure it would pass, and then we can move on and really make ocean safety even better. They're already the #1 water safety group in the world on a restricted basis, restricted budget. They're only getting about $22-23 million a year to operate and save lives all the way around this island. And if they were their own department, it would open up multiple huge amounts of money from private-public partnerships. I've told the mayor this, I could double their budget with private donations in the first year. Just from tapping companies that want to be associated with the world's best lifeguards. So if you could convey that to Chair Waters,
Sure.
to put it on the agenda at the city council and
You're
have,
talking about a charter amendment?
yes.
Yeah, I'll look into that. Just so you know, Tim, we have different deadlines for charter amendments. You know, they take 3 readings and they have to pass by a certain time and then be signed by the mayor to be put on the ballot. And I don't know if we're outside of that window because of the 3-month timeline. So I'll look into that and I'll get back to Chair Finley. It might be something for the, next round. Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, Miss. Hi. I remember back in September, you were here, and I'm glad to hear that you stated that you promised that you would find out about whether or not the city could control pickup times by garbage trucks. And I'm glad to finally see that I got an answer. Is it possible to actually see the city council, corporate council's report? I can actually see what.
Yeah, I don't have a report. We just asked, hey, we asked our attorneys, is this something that could be legislation? Could it be an ordinance? And they said, yes, but there's other considerations. And so when the chair spoke with the managing director, he committed to the chair that they would work together.
Did they list what these other considerations are?
No,
They just been, is that attorney talk, like they get that vague? like,
I'm not
"Yeah,
an
okay."
attorney, so I'm
No, no,
not
no.
going to pretend to know, but
But
he
okay.
did speak with the managing director after, getting the verbal, hey, you could, but, kind of thing. And they said they would work together. He is traveling, as you know.
Yeah.
So they haven't been able to meet since then, and that he only got back in the last couple of weeks.
But it'll be Waters and, you say, Mike,
Well, no, the managing director, as you may remember, was trying to get people together to talk about it.
yeah.
And so Chair Waters raised his hand and said, hey, I'd like to be involved. And he said, yes, let's work together. And that was literally the extent of the conversation. They did not get into specifics. They did not have another meeting set up because he's traveling.
Mhm.
So that's where it is. It's in the ball of the administration, the ball's in that court right now.
Okay.
And they did have a meeting. We were not invited. I don't know what happened. But they are actively working on it. It's not like they're not. It's just that we haven't been in any meetings with them since they spoke right before he left.
well, thank you for, I think Lou, Vice Chair Lou and I both thought that you could actually regulate it. And so thank you for getting a confirmation on
Yeah.
that.
Thank you. Anything else for Tommy Waters? See nothing else. Thank you for being with us tonight. Now we have Senator Moriwaki, who has a report for us.
Good evening, Chair, members. I have a report before you. It's mostly bills, and I see Lou online as well. You may have many of the same bills. I do want to point out that I call it the Deutschman bill. 3 strikes and you're out. Well, it's not, but they blanked out the number of assaults. But this is taking the misdemeanor law that's now felony if you have more than, 5? 3 assaults, not assaults, but 3 property convictions, or convictions. And so what was missing was assault against people. So this bill is now traveling across to the House. It was heard in judiciary, passed by judiciary. And so we will have, hopefully, if the House approves it, and the governor signs it, a law that if you assault in people, that you will be after 3 or more. We don't, it's a blank right now, but it will be a felony so that we can at least deter crime in this, not only in this district, but in the state. So I have a number of bills that I introduced relating to problems that you folks have brought up, dealing with crime, with homelessness, excessive noise, and also sea level rise. We are really looking at how coastal communities like Waikiki can address sea level rise and adapting to it. One of the projects that was funded last year, and I think some of you are involved with this project, is the University of Hawaii with the Office of Sustainable Development has a project called the Waikiki Resilience and Adaptation Project. It is looking at the community involvement. A lot of what has been going on with sea level rise and climate change has been at the macro level. The UH has been working on projects, but what we don't have is a community-driven adaptation plan. So part of this effort is to bring in the community and look at the science that has come out of the university and other places, and looking at how might we use that in terms of developing a plan forward. We talk about managed retreat, but we don't know what that means. Some of those that hotels, especially on the coastline, are afraid that that means, you know, they've got to tear down and build up more inland. But again, it's coming up with a plan and knowing how we're going to deal with it. One of the bills that I had introduced was the Kawehewehe area where we've got the boardwalk that's crumbling. I did have a capital improvement project bill, but it was too narrow. So what we're looking at is working with the Department of Land and Natural Resources to use some of its funds to start work on design of that area so that we can actually make it safe for people to use. So those are some of the bills. You can look through my report, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Most of them are moving. So what next week, this week is the last week for the first lateral, which means that the bills have to move out of their committee or they are dead for the session. So a lot of these bills are moving, but we had a couple thousand bills, so many are not moving. So that's where we are. I'm glad to answer any questions.
Questions for Senator Moriwaki? Great.
Aloha, Senator. I do want to thank you for introducing a number of condominium measures. I didn't see any listed here on your newsletter. I was a little surprised at that. I thought maybe you would focus on some, but I only wanted to point out as we go through, there's more condominium measures coming up. There's some tomorrow at a CPC hearing. Actually, I think there's one CPC hearing tomorrow. There's a couple more coming up. And what I'm seeing in the opposition testimony is disturbing, and I'm seeing a number of attorneys and others that are collaborating, and I can only say that because it's very clear there's boilerplate testimony. So there's opposition testimony that's cookie cutter. It's just the same testimony by a group. And one of these, there's a number of them involved, but one is an attorney who is regularly suing condominium owners for foreclosure. And when I did a little research, and I'll share more of this with you later, just quickly here. When I did a little research, I found out that, there's quite a few at Eva Village. There's different parts of Hawaii that they're involved in, and some other locations, but there's multiples. There's like dozens. And in one case, I paid for the court record. It's just a little over $2,000 that's owed. So it's deeply disturbing that we may be making more people homeless with these predatory attorneys. They're the opposition that's testifying against better consumer measures for condominium owners. So I commend you for introducing, but unfortunately, one was just deferred. So introducing is I don't want to say it's for show. I mean, you didn't do it for show. You're trying to help. But when we get to committee, there's a lot of gamesmanship, and I just want to ask for your support and more understanding there.
I do know that the task force that was formed last session did come up with a number of problems that you've identified as well as possible solutions. So there is a bill going through that's a follow-up to that task force, asking, I believe, the Legislative Reference Bureau to start looking at some of these areas, and hopefully by looking at other jurisdictions and looking at other options that are available, that would be a measured way of addressing it without having the so-called pros and cons of people coming to the legislature, having some real study done on what can happen or what has happened elsewhere that's successful.
Right. And one quick comment on that, the LRB, unfortunately, if that passes all the way through, that's not until 2026. By then, all of these cases of foreclosure that may have been the non-judicial foreclosures that became judicial foreclosures may be settled with homeless homeowners. And a lot of them are local Hawaiians.
Well, you might want to, again, bills that come through, they have 6 hearings. And each hearing, you must convince the committee that there are amendments to the bill that could make it better. So if in fact you think that 2026 is too long a date, you can ask that the bill be amended so that you get results in 2025. So at least you give a year for some study, or 2024 if you think that some solutions are already there. But again, the bills are there for a purpose when they come to hearing, is to hear all sides, and the committee decides amendments to be made. I know when we have bills before us, I read all the testimony and try to see how we can get to some kind of compromise or put language in that we think is better, so that the bill goes through each reading to become better. And if they can't, it gets deferred, and we do it next year again.
Well, thank you very much. We'll talk more about it. I don't want to take any more time, but thank you for your response on that.
I do want to bring to your attention, though, as I talked about the Waikiki Resilience and Adaptation Program. It is a project we funded by the legislature, funded it last year. It's in the second year. We're working with the University of Hawaii Community Design Center. And so if you are interested in doing something about our coastline and how we adapt, I would strongly suggest that you join them. It is during the day, though, on February 23rd from 2 to 3:30 at the Alawai Community Park, the boathouse. Again, it really is looking at the future of Waikiki and what you think it should be. And from that, hopefully they will work back to what we need to do today. Thank you.
Actually, I did give them some time at our next meeting, but I
Thank
can't give them the hour and a half that they really need to do that. And I think everybody should participate. Probably, these are online, aren't they?
I think they're in person, but I don't know if they
Yeah.
have the Zoom
Yeah.
possibility.
But
I don't.
if you have the time, go and participate. I'm going to give them probably about 15 minutes to give us an overall what they're doing. I think Greg asked me to put them on, so I've got them on for March. Yes, it's very important, but unfortunately in our format, an hour and a half would be something we couldn't really support them with. And I'd like to thank you for your inputs on bills we should consider. Lou did a great job digging bills out, but you did a better job aiming us at
Together we do
ones
it.
we missed. So, yes. Anything else for the senator?
Thank you.
Okay. And next we have Representative Tam. Sorry, my podium thing broke.
Thank you so much for having me here today. The legislative session is in full swing. as many of you know. We still have a long ways to go, and I really take into account all the things that you feel about the bills. So please feel free to contact our office via email or phone. We've also sent out a survey to the entire district. Feel free to send that back with your comments and concerns. In terms of what I'm working on in the district, a lot of it has to do with constituent concerns. One of the things that has brought to my attention is 1701 Alawai Boulevard, which is a pretty much abandoned lot that was purchased by I think it's Development Corporation, but they kind of let that lot get derelict. So there's been loitering and there's been some graffiti action on that area. We have, working with Councilmember Waters, we have asked the community policing team to monitor that area with a higher police presence to ensure that nothing else bad happens to that. We've also asked the city to create an active riser and requested the DPP to send out a notice of derelict property to them so that they can take care of their property. Next up, our office has also received a lot of smoking concerns. We want to remind everyone that their complaint was about smoking on the sidewalk. There is no law that says that you can't smoke on the sidewalk. It just says that you can't smoke at the bus stop or in parks, and that includes beach parks. It is actually HPD or that is supposed to be the enforcement on it pursuant to Hawaii revised statutes. So if you do notice something, please feel free to call HPD on that to alert them. Other than that, you have my newsletters. If you are online, you can see my newsletter at the Capitol website. And that is the end of my report.
Goodness. Questions for Representative Tam? Jacob.
Aloha, Rep. Tam. Thank you for the update, and I'm sure it's been a very busy session. There's two bills coming up that came out. I think it's HB 2762, HB 2765 that deal with sort of legal gambling via run by OHA, and then the latter one has to do with legalizing sports betting out here. Just wondering if you could give us an update on what that's going to look like, and especially if we do even a partial legalization of gambling, how that will or won't impact Waikiki. Thank you.
So I have read the supportive testimony and well, mostly the opposition testimony on that bill. Generally I've been opposed to gambling personally too. Gambling has always been a benefit to the casino, and it really targets people in poverty. The money that was generated from that bill was supposed to go to OHA, and OHA basically said in their testimony comments, which is thanks but no thanks. They said that although the money will benefit us, they recognize that in a study, the social cost of gambling in 1 year costed $26 million to an average of 20,000 problematic gamblers and 10,000 chronic gamblers. They've also cited another study that it primarily affects minority groups, especially when it comes to Native Americans. And my concern for voting no on that was that I didn't want it to target our Native Hawaiian groups in Hawaii. In terms of sports betting, I did vote with reservations on that. I feel like, that's a more easier pill to swallow when it comes to gambling, but my concerns still stand in terms of gambling as a whole.
Anything else for Representative Tam? I don't see anything. Thank you for being with us tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Happy New Year. I believe Rick Eggett is still ill. I don't see him here tonight. Okay, next, the board has a motion to consider placing the resolution that I believe you all got. There was a copy on regarding proposed Alawai Canal, 180-foot tall tower cable stayed pedestrian bridge at University Avenue in Kalaimoku on the March 2024 regular neighborhood board agenda. Greg, do you have a motion to put this on the agenda?
Yes, I motion to I was hoping to get it discussed this evening, but I know the agenda is full. So I am motioning to put it on the agenda for the next meeting. And it is a resolution that is vastly different from the last one. I know there's been a couple, and I've been trying to support the public's interest, but this resolution, is it okay to just state what the resolution is?
I think everybody got a copy, but go ahead.
Well, just to clarify, because everybody doesn't, I think, read it all the time. They're busy. The resolution would not require a full EIS. It would support a modest bridge for a reasonable cost, and it would not support the very large 180-foot tall cable-stayed bridge at the very high cost that's allocated. And the one thing too is just making sure that the two projects, the sea level rise, the canal project with the wall and the bridge are coordinated together. So that's the main intent of it.
Is there a second? A second. Discussion, Mr. Mers?
Yeah, this is pretty much what we considered before last month. And I quote, the neighborhood board request in your resolution here that a full EIS is required. So let me finish, don't interrupt me. So you're saying we need a EIS? I thought we voted on that and made it clear we don't like that. So why are you bringing it before us again?
You're misstating the resolution. Are you looking at the old one, Jeff?
No, I'm looking at the one that we received in the mail.
Where does it say that a full?
Page 3,
Okay, and where does it say?
down the middle, I highlighted it. Waikiki board requested a full EIS is required.
Hold on.
Why does it say that? I thought you said this was totally different than the last one.
Further discussion?
Hold on one second. Says, are you looking at the be it further resolved that Waikiki Neighborhood Board number 9 requests that if a full environmental impact statement is
Yeah.
required? You're not reading it properly. So if you read the sentence properly, and it's all in the way you interpret it, and I know you're trying to interpret it in the way you'd like to, but if you interpret it the proper way, read it. Be it further resolved that Waikiki Neighborhood Board number 9 requests that if a full environmental impact statement, EIS, is required for Hawaii Revised Statutes, Chapter 343, which is a statute, or any other laws or regulations, and there is evidence presented to support this by any party, that a full EIS shall be conducted. That means if the laws of the state of Hawaii mandate that a full EIS is required, that we support that. Not that we are requiring it, that the laws that dictate the requirement for it would require it.
Yeah, but the city already determined that a full EIS isn't required. So how would this be required?
Again,
What
there's other
cost of
parties
trigger it?
involved in the city, what the city's looking at, and we've got the federal agencies involved too. There's been further discussion. You weren't part of one of them, and I participated as a guest, but there's been other discussions. And again, I don't know how this is going to play out. There's a lot of opposition. I know you're on the planning side, so you're supporting of it. I'm supportive of a bridge. I was never against a bridge. What I don't support is squashing the public's concerns, especially at our board, where we as a board don't give the public the right to have a voice. And this is the voice of reason. And it's the same voice that we had in I think it was 2016, when this neighborhood board, a different board, adopted a resolution to support a modest bridge for between $5 and $11 million. And that was the resolution then.
And then what's the second one that I highlighted? That if a full EIS is conducted, the community members, including representatives from area neighborhood boards, be appointed to sit on advisory board. What advisory board are you talking about? To help implement and complete a full EIS? I've never heard of anything. That's outrageous. What advisory board, and where'd you pull that from?
So this was at the request of a member of the public, and I guess if there's no advisory board, then that wouldn't happen. But if there was an advisory board, we obviously have advisory boards where Senator, and I don't call it a board, I call it a gathering. Senator Ihara is concerned, his office, he's coordinated a meeting at the school last year. quite a few people turned out for that. Most of them were in opposition of the bridge. Many of them lived on the opposite side of where we are. But the point of this is that, you know, and if there's an amendment, we can discuss that at the next meeting. So if this needs to be amended, or there's some whereases or some things that you don't agree with, easily amended if there's some things that the board doesn't agree with.
Yeah, I've been on the board 20 years. I've never seen a more poorly written resolution in my whole time on this board. So again, I don't understand from area neighborhood boards, is that all the neighborhood boards on the island? And again, it says the advisory board as if it's already a done deal.
Okay.
So I'm not going to support this at all.
That's fine. First of all, I don't accept the personal attack, but I will say that Senator Ihata's office, a representative from that office, looked at it, reviewed it. I thought it was well written and covered all the bases. So you can say what you want. I know you're completely against it. You can, and I know you're against it. I don't want it to be politics. I just want the public's opinion to be heard at our board. And if this board is going to become that political, then we have a concern here with our board.
Catherine?
Well, this
Chair,
has been discussed ad infinitum. We have voted on it, we have voted on it, we have voted on it. I'd like to propose that we do not hear this resolution again. We made our point very clear. You were the only one who voted for it. The rest of this board and boards in the past have expressed themselves. I put before you a request that we do not hear this any further.
Just a second.
Could I make an additional statement, Chair?
Is that what you said?
I call for the question.
No. Could I make an additional statement, Chair?
Chair, I have my
Like
hand
it.
raised.
Just a quick statement that's important. 2 days after this board.
Excuse me, a question has been called.
The question has been called. I'll take a roll call.
Chair, if I could please,
I'm sorry, the question has been called.
what is the question has been called? I'm sorry. We're still in a discussion period. I believe,
The question, we're not discussing this.
what
any
is the
further.
question has been called? Is that a Robert's Rules? Term?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
Anson, can you?
Yeah, that's one of the things that we could do is to kill off a motion, is to put in question, so.
Okay, well, if I could, Chair, just to entertain
Greg,
one additional comment
You
for
never
fairness.
stop when it's not your turn. It is not your turn.
I'm speaking to the chair. I'm raising a
We
concern to the chair.
According
Chair,
to
I'm raising the
Roberts,
concern to
question
you.
Has been called.
Okay.
That ends the discussion. So I'll take a roll call vote if it's from this board.
Right.
Yes, the question was to end discussion on this. Do I have a second for that as well? And
So I think the biggest question is if the board has already gone over this and talked about it and approved it.
yes,
ad nauseam.
we're already at the point where we don't
Yes.
have any more discussion.
So what's the
Yep,
way?
Chair, hands are raised. Are we allowed to, I've got my hand, I know I'm online, but I'm wondering.
Okay, we have a
Cost is
motion
the biggest
to call
issue.
the
I'm just-
question.
if
We
the
have
cost
a
is the
second.
issue, is there a way other than this to?
So is there discussion on
All
that
we're going to
motion?
do is take a vote. That's all you can do.
Point of order, Chair, and
So
point of
Mr.
order, Chair, point of order, Chair. And Anson, please, I know you're newer here. Point of order. Prior to, point of
Mr.
order,
President,
point of order, Chair.
Mr. President, excuse me.
Point of order. I'm asking for the
There-
floor with the point of order. I'm asking for the floor with a point of order.
Mr. President, if you stay
Chair.
with the point of order, stay with the point.
I will if I get the chair to recognize me. I can stand up. Chair,
Debatable.
Chair, point of order, if you could, thank you, just to recognize me. At the time that Ms. Hensky spoke with her question, Ms. Worth had her hand raised, and we have people on the Zoom that have their hands raised that I believe have a right to speak. she has a right, I guess, to make the question. That's new to me, but I think and I'll wait till the sirens go by. I know that Daniel's not happy with the sirens right now. That might be by divine intervention, but I believe that the people have a right to speak first, and then you could go further with that motion.
Pass that
It's not even a
on to our
motion.
Neighborhood assistant. Ron Robert.
No, but I've been told that if a
Can't
member
hear.
does call, we just go on to that. That's what I've been told by,
Specifically for this meeting, or
it's not debatable. It's too late. Again, can you repeat who again? Who moved to call the question? Sorry.
We will need a 2/3 vote to end discussion.
Okay.
So are the people online allowed to speak or no, or no?
So Chair, if I may.
We are
Chair,
taking a vote to end discussion. So if the vote is 2/3 to stop discussion, then there will be no more discussion on this.
and then we'll take a vote on the actual motion before
Yes.
the body.
Okay, say yes, no, or abstain. And to say, when I say your name, Jillian. Robert. Way back, so, over you. Michael Brown. Not here. Lisa. Shotaro. Domel. Domel? Oh, he's not here. Okay, Lewis.
I'm sorry, I can't hear. So a yes vote is a vote to end discussion?
Yes.
Okay, I'll vote yes.
Melissa. Robert. Finley. Oh. Catherine. Daniel.
Yes.
Ken. Jeff. Greg. Mark. Chad. And Sarah.
I just like to say it's unfair that only the opposition was allowed to discuss, and I vote that no, that the other people do have a right to be heard.
Yep, that's 12. It's 2/3. It passes.
So
Now you vote on the,
correct me if I'm wrong, but now we vote on the,
yes, so now the question without further debate is the board in support of the resolution as proposed?
okay, take that vote.
excuse me, Chair, could you clarify the count again? How many board members are here? And I think Sarah said no. I said no. You said 12. said yes. I thought there were 13 of us. Did I miscount? Oh, I'm sorry, I did. Lou, I forgot about Lou. Lou's up on the Zoom. I miscounted.
We'll have the vote. No says we do not want it in March. Yes says we do want it in March. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, use a microphone.
Repeat that one more time.
So
Oh,
I believe the motion is yes, if we want to hear this in March, no, if we do not want to hear it in March.
No, I think the motion is, do we approve this?
Do we approve this?
I mean, the original maker of the motion would have to, but my understanding is Mr. Masakian wanted this approved by the board tonight.
No, I think I think the motion is to
That's
put it
not
on
the way it's
agenda.
on the agenda. It's,
No, it's to
oh,
have
I
it on the
requested
agenda.
it to be on that way, but it's not on agenda that way. Chair Finley chose a different way.
Is that I'm not, so. Right the first time?
I'll agree with that, Chair. I think either or, we're going to get a vote. It's going to be the different, same end. So the motion on the table is to put this on the agenda next week
Yes.
or next month. Okay. Yeah, now we vote that.
So we vote yes, puts it on the agenda. A vote no does not put it on the agenda. Is that correct, everybody?
Okay. Jillian? Jillian? Oh, wait. Yeah. No? Okay. Lisa? Shotaro? Jomel? Oh, wait. Oh, sorry. Louis?
No,
Melissa? Robert? Catherine?
No.
Daniel?
No.
Ken? Jeff?
No.
Greg? Chad? Sarah?
Yeah, I would like to clarify, have my opinion heard. So yes, I would like this on the agenda, please.
Okay, that's 2 yes. Again. And we got 12, no. It doesn't pass.
Thank you.
Just to clarify, who was the second on the motion? I think that's.
And for your information, I am inviting the city to come back again. So we will have more discussions on this. House bills and Senate bills, as I hope everyone has got the information that was sent out twice, I believe, by email, and a copy is on your table tonight. I would like Lou for the explanation of what we're doing with legislation this year. Lou, are you there?
yep, I'm here. I was trying to talk on the last motion, but nobody seemed to hear me. Well, I would love to be with all you folks tonight, but I'm on the tail end of my of COVID rebound, so I'm forced to isolate. So I guess I'm here online. So when we last left off, the session was just starting. So what I did was I compiled a fairly inclusive list of bills, sort of reflecting either issues we've covered in the past or things people were interested in, so that we could at least put them all out there for potential vote, potential discussion, potential support, opposition, however the board felt. Lisa was good enough to help me categorize them. And so That's been sent out and they've all been put on the agenda. I would say that in terms of how we might proceed tonight, my own suggestion would be, a lot of these bills, some of them are not heard, some of them are not going to be heard. Uh, some of them are confusing. A lot of them have already been amended and we haven't seen the new amendments. And so I don't necessarily have any particular recommendations for anything, but I suspect that our board members might have some interest in having bills brought up for discussion. And so what I was thinking as a way to proceed would be just essentially maybe start with the chair and then open it up. I mean, the idea is this is really for all of you. The list was just compiled for informational purposes. I know a few of you did ask to add bills. Greg sent me some condo bills that we put in. I think Jillian sent a couple of bills that we added. So we gave everybody the opportunity to add to what we were doing. And so I would kind of throw it open to see if there are bills that that people wanted to support. I know in my own capacity as a private citizen, I did support the crime bill that John Dusman was talking about. And perhaps the chair or others might want to discuss that. But I think that would make the most sense, Chair, in terms of how to proceed.
What I'd like to do first, I'd like to thank Jillian. I'd like to thank Greg and Senator Moriwaki. I saw they all sent in bills that we should be considering, and we certainly can do that. As Lou said, I went through a lot of these bills today, and I found out that most of them, not all, have either had a hearing and are moving forward, but most of the ones moving forward are amended. And I couldn't find any amendments, what they are. So I don't know if we should vote in favor of something that we don't know what it is at this time, or wait until next meeting when the amendments are all out. And probably the lateral was doing this Friday. Is that correct, Lou?
Yeah, the first lateral is Friday, as Senator Moriwaki said, and then 2 weeks from then is the first decking. So all these bills would have had to have gone through either a first or second subject matter committee, and then be at the last committee, which typically might be like House Finance or Senate Ways and Means or Judiciary, depending on the referral pattern. So I think the reason you probably can't find a lot of the amendments is because what's showing online is just the committee voted to pass with amendments, but the drafts haven't come out yet. They have to be out by Friday. So we will know a lot more in the next couple of days. And then with the 2 weeks after that, with the decking deadline, I think well before the March meeting, we will have well, first of all, the list will be narrowed, which will make it a lot more manageable. And second of all, we will at least see what the current version of the bill is. And so we would probably be in a better position to make some decisions about it.
Okay. I have 3 areas that I want to get inputs from this board. Not necessarily a vote in favor or against the bill, but I think we need to discuss a few things. And then I'll turn it over to the board members. You can just ask to discuss any bill you care to, as long as it's kind of on our agenda. Ken, you've got.
I just want to say that this is based on my own unique personal experience, that, at the beginning of a session, you've got most legislators filing as many bills as they can or are allowed to do. And I think Lou has probably compiled a very thorough list of bills that we might all be interested in, but the chances of all those bills moving forward is slim and none. And we ought to wait a little bit to see how these bills are progressing. I don't think there's anything wrong with us sending a letter saying we support this or don't support this. But, I think you can usually look at a bill and make an assessment of the chances of it passing or not passing. my hunch is if we wait a little bit longer, we'll be able to do that and our input will be greater.
Okay. And in the meantime, do you mind if I proceed with this a little bit? The first area I'd like us to look at is habitual crime. Senate Bill 2347. I believe Greg already testified in favor of it. Lou did, I did. But I'd like to make sure that the board feels that that's something that's important to us, where we want, I think it will get 3-time offenders or frequent flyers, as we call them, sort of off the street, where they have to have a mandatory jail time or whatever. I don't know what the final language in the bill is going to be. And again, it flies from the House to the Senate. And John, I know you're a big advocate of this. I'll let you statement.
Just to cut through a lot of things you said, this bill has already gone through the Senate unchanged. So there's no question about this bill. Now goes to the House Judiciary Committee, only gets one referral, and if they pass it, that's it. It becomes law if the governor signs it. So it's really good. Again, to clarify, it's about specifically violent misdemeanor. Most common being assault 3. In Hawaii, if you hit and hurt somebody, that's assault 3. If you're convicted of it 3 times in a 5-year period, which is almost impossible, but we have some high achievers here. But if you do that, then the next time around, on time number 4, the prosecutor has the option to prosecute you as a felon, which would leave you open to possibly 5 years in prison, but usually it winds up being like a year in jail, probation, or whatever. That's what this is about, the simple version. There's some other offenses connected to it, assault on a law enforcement officer in a 2nd degree, and sexual assault 4. But the simple version is if you hit and hurt somebody 3 times, innocent person, convicted 3 times, upon number 4, it's a felon. That's a simple version. It's gone through the Senate already. They loved it. But whether the House is going to love it or not, I don't know.
Thank you.
Chair, if I can just make one procedural sort of correction, as it were, is that so the bill hasn't yet gone to the House. The bill passed the Senate Judiciary Committee unamended. It still has to go to the floor of the Senate and then cross over. Now, I'm pretty sure it will, but just so we're clear, the bill was the bill has not yet gone over to the House.
Thank you. Jeff?
Yeah, I think, and John, you said at the start of this meeting, we've come so far in reducing the heavy lifting crime, really knocking it out of the park. Fine tuning it with laws like these or proposals like these. This is what we need to do now. I fully support these, and again, let's keep the pressure on, and get the bad men and women. Let them know there's gonna be consequences. So I'm all for these, and I like how they're it's fine tuning, and it's getting the bad people. So I support these.
Thank you. I'm going to move on to.
Well, do you
I don't know
need
if
to
this
take?
is
Do you want to take a vote? Do you need a vote to support?
I'm trying to get information right now, but.
Okay, and then you can do that. Okay.
Yeah. Because that bill has amendments, as I understand. So we're talking, doesn't have amendments? So if that case, I thought it was being amended. So we're talking about Senate Bill 2347. Is there a motion to support the concept of this bill?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Speak on the matter. I just want to repeat, I think that Lou told us, correct me if I'm wrong, Lou, that the bill has passed through the Judiciary Committee. It still has to go to the full Senate floor where it can be amended. It can be substituted. then it has to go to the House where it can be substituted or amended or changed in a million ways. I think personally, for us to take action, I agree with John's goals, 100%. I don't necessarily agree with all his methods, but I think for us to take action on bills at this point, just because somebody's introduced them, it is a colossal waste of our time.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, the bill could be amended on the Senate floor, but those are pretty small chances. I mean, I would recommend that the board support this because then Bob, as the chair, can actually testify on behalf of the neighborhood board sooner than later. And so I think there is value in supporting this bill tonight.
okay, so to do that, I need a motion to, okay, and I want to use the word concept in there because we never know what is going to happen to it. So the motion is to support the concept of Senate Bill license
Yeah, it's Senate Bill
2347.
Right, and if I could maybe make a friendly amendment, the House companion is House Bill 2252. That's also a single referral to House Judiciary, which hasn't been heard yet, but there's more time for them to hear it. So in the event that that bill gets heard, I would suggest that we do the Senate and House companion in one, at the same motion.
Ken, would you agree to the amendment? And who was the second on this? Okay, we have a motion and a second to support Senate Bill 2347 and House Bill 2252 in concept. So what do you want to do? A roll call or?
When I say your name, please say yes, no, or abstain. Jillian? Lisa? Botaro? Jamal? Louis?
Yes.
Melissa? Robert? Catherine? Oh. Danielle?
Yes.
Ken? Danielson? Jeff? Greg? Chad? Oh, okay, Sarah?
I've seen too many bills gutted, so I think no for now, and then
Okay.
we'll see.
It passes. With a vote of 10, yes.
Next, I'd like to move on to, and I don't know, Jillian, if this was you or Senator Fukunaga, Senate Bill 2727 with House Bill 2036. These bills allow condominiums to be eligible for commercial property assessment financing. And unless I'm probably wrong, but that means that these are low interest loans so that the 400 or so condominiums that are considering putting in sprinklers can finance them that way. So discussion on this? Did I get the wrong number? Thought it was Senate Bill 2727 and also House Bill 2036. It's under life-saving systems. So Greg, go ahead.
Just very quickly, so I'm heavily involved in condominium-related legislation, and I'm part of a condo hui, and with the Kakua Council that I serve on as second vice president, we do a lot of discussions on condominium legislation. I co-authored a number of measures this year that were 6 bills. That said, just so you know, my background on this is a lot. We have been looking at this one, and I have concerns that are shared by others, and I'm not sure yet, so the jury's out, but I have concerns that this could potentially open up some additional liabilities for default of this particular type of loan, and put the owners of the association at some kind of risk. We don't know the details yet, and I haven't researched it enough, so I couldn't vote one way or the other tonight.
This bill has been amended. So as a condominium, small condominium board member, our board is looking at putting in sprinklers, but we just can't afford it. So anyway, is everybody happy with this one? We can hold it until March.
Chair, I move to support.
Can I say something? Could I say something?
Sure, but let me get the board members first.
So one of my main concerns, as Ken Jacobs said, is that it has been amended, and as Finley pointed out, we don't know what the amendments are, and it doesn't restrict these commercial loans just to sprinklers. So there could be loans taken out for other issues, so that's my concern. So until I actually see the amendments, I'm sorry, I'd like to hold till March.
As we discussed earlier, I'd like to hold this off till March, but I just wanted to get kind of a pulse for what people think about this type of bill.
Yes. Can I comment?
Yes, please.
Yes, we just had our condominium meeting last night, and the fact is our insurance for property is going way up because we're all in the flood inundation zone. And second of all, if we do not have the life safety sprinklers, the insurance will go way up also. So you're going to bear a huge amount of insurance, additional monies going out each month. I just would want to tell you that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mine went up 40% in 1 year. And Greg submitted a lot of condominium bills. I'd like to get background on how you're feeling about the condominium bills.
Yes, we have more coming up. In fact, I did, I think it was 11-page testimony that I just submitted. There's a hearing tomorrow, CPC. There's a couple more on the 15th, a couple of additional CPC hearings for, I guess they have them back to back for different condominium measures. The main measure that I was hoping, and we still have hope for it, is some kind of an ombudsman measure. There is one that Representative Psyche introduced, and that will be heard, I believe it's on the 15th. So we have hope. There's some things moving forward. HB 24, excuse me, SB 2404 was passed through with an amendment, and we're looking at some other measures. So there's different measures. I don't want to get into the weeds here because we don't have time. We have other things to discuss, but we have some hope. There's some light there, but we obviously have some pushback from the opposition, as you heard me speaking with Senator Morawaki earlier. So that's the hurdle that we have. We have opposition testimony that is unfair and unfortunately misinformed. So we have to work through that.
So board members, again, all of these bills are either in amendment or they have not had a hearing yet. So I think we should be waiting till March to find out what they are so we can make a logical vote. We could make that motion, but I'd like to go through a couple more things first. Next is the cannabis bills that are going around. And I suspect we have mixed feelings about these. Uh, And I'd like to know if the board members have any initial thoughts about this. I personally have a thought since I used to carry a big security clearance that wouldn't let me do anything with this, and it would still be a federal crime. So, yeah, go ahead.
So I'm against the cannabis legalization of cannabis for a number of reasons, but I do want to make a suggestion. I think we did it last year. I think if we could potentially get through this in a way where we support the concept of these bills, and I would make the motion to allow our chair to provide testimony in good faith that we trust him, and we did it last year on behalf of the Waikiki Neighborhood Board, and obviously he's going to be seeing what the bill is at that point. If there's an amendment to it, he would see it. A lot is going to happen between now and March, and I do agree with member Jacob also about waiting, but if we give that leeway, that would give some weight to the testimony. I know we all can provide individual testimony, so I'm fine with doing that. I think if we wanted to try to do that, I would make the motion to do that.
Okay. Where'd the second come from? Ken? Okay.
I'm sorry, from my understanding, I thought Daniel Jacob recommended that after we, some of the bills that we decided we're interested in, that we would actually form a PIG. Is that not correct in the last meeting? Because that way these things could be addressed in more timely manner.
The unfortunate part, first, let's get this one done, but the unfortunate part about making a PIG at this point is we should have done it in November. And the legislature is moving ahead at warp speed. So I don't know if a PIG could keep up with what's happening at the legislature in a timely manner to get it back to this board. I think for this year, I was going to suggest this later in the agenda, but I would like to hold off on the PIG until we can make it useful. We need 3 months to really do something, so.
Chair, I understand you're not in support of creating a PIG tonight. I think it's the exact vehicle we could create to address the issues we are talking about right now, as Member Worth has indicated. So I've told you that I'm not going to make that motion tonight, but I think it's a very strategic and appropriate vehicle for us to make tonight. But as we've discussed, I can give more on that later.
Alrighty, so further discussion on cannabis. Are
Yes.
people in favor, against?
Can,
Greg and I
can
don't
I,
like it.
can I say something?
Who was that?
It's
Yeah,
Laura?
I think
I'm
Laura.
getting board members first, Laura.
Okay, it's fine.
Sure, Chair, I'll speak real quickly. I wasn't at the meeting where Prosecutor Alm came and presented to this board, but I did watch the recording of it. Quite frankly, his opinion sounds like it's straight out of the Reagan days. What is it? Reefer madness. And, for anybody to suggest, oh, well, you could get it today, so there's nothing wrong with the system, is just, I think, turning a blind eye to the fact that it could be regulated. We could receive tax revenue on it. If it's there, no matter what, then regulation, I think, is going to make it a better environment for it to exist in, rather than, hey, do what you will. We're not going to arrest you. So I'm very much in support of the cannabis legislation.
I'm sorry, my hearing aids did not get what you just said.
Sure. I'm in support of the cannabis legislation. I think I don't agree with Steve Alm's position on this,
Yeah,
So
Chair-
one of the issues
Chair.
is people always bring up the financial benefit of cannabis. Unfortunately, we don't look at the cost. For example, alcohol. It is legal, but what is the cost of society? How many DUIs? And once a drug is out there, we can't take it back. We've tried that with prohibition. Look what happened. And also with cigarette smoke. People are like, oh, cigarette smoke is worse than cannabis. I'm like, you are correct. However, we can't take cigarette smoke back. So once we open that door, that's my issue. So what I don't have an issue per se about cannabis. The cost to society, the cost it's going to for health reasons, that's my concern.
I've got Lou followed by Ken.
Yeah,
Lou?
thank you. Yeah, I'm generally supportive as well. I mean, to me, there's two different issues. One is whether it should be decriminalized for personal use. And then the other, I mean, what I understood a lot of our, like Steve Alm and the others were concerned about was was sort of the legalizing the commercial sale of cannabis. And my own view is, I mean, I'm kind of a libertarian. I mean, I just don't think it's the government's business to tell people what to do in their own personal life. I don't think they should tell you what to eat, what to drink, what, you know, and if somebody wants to use marijuana in in their own house, I think it's up to them. So I definitely support that. I mean, obviously you can't get stoned and drive. So but there's already laws that would cover that. So I generally would support it. I have some mixed feelings. I'm not sure that legalizing the stores is that big a deal. I frankly found Steve Alm's presentation a little on the hysterical side. And I think that there's lots of cities where they have pot shops and it hasn't really led to any kind of detrimental things. And so if it sprang up in Waikiki, I mean, is that going to ruin Waikiki or be a big deal? I don't think so. I mean, I think the opponents are making more of a big deal out of it than it deserves. That's my opinion.
Okay, Ken? Thank you.
Excuse me. I'm in support of it as well. First of all, there's a bar every other store. I'm speaking metaphorically, but there's a bar almost every few feet in Waikiki. You can buy liquor everywhere. Liquor, alcohol is the third leading cause of death in the world. I have yet to read anything that says that marijuana has ever killed anybody. Yeah, people have done some dumb stuff on it, and people can do some dumb stuff on alcohol. People can do some dumb stuff without anything. But reality is, you can vote against it, you can make it legal, you can arrest people and put them in jail. But if you look across this country, there's a train moving down the track. It's probably better for us. We use that rather than alcohol. And it's just kind of ridiculous to put our feet in the way and try to stop it, because it's not. Plus, the medical marijuana system that they have here, relatively a joke. Basically walk in there, tell them you get a headache now and then, or you got a backache now and then, can't sleep at night. You have a doctor whose office is literally within 100 feet of the dispensary, and it's just going to give it to you willy-nilly. And then you walk in the dispensary and you have a variety of goods you can choose. Choose goods to help you sleep, you can goods to have fun with, you can choose all kinds of things. So it's a train moving, we're not going to stop it. And so it's kind of a waste of our time to stop it. I mean, to try and stop it, but you're not going to stop it. You're just going to increase the black market of it. I'm finished. Thank you.
Okay, I've got Laura Ruby who'd like to say something, followed by Jacob.
Yes, three quick points. First of all, I read the whole resolution or the bill for a law, and it's very, very well written, very well grounded. Second of all, if any of you remember the Green Harvest some decades ago, this put the general sharing of Pakalolo into the community. But what it did do with the Green Harvest, causing, of course, possible peril to the National Guard and all had to go in helicopters, it actually gave openings to all of the meth and all of the other very serious and deadly drugs. And this has really, the hope would be is that, of course, with the legalization of Pakalolo, then it would, those dangerous drugs would drop down. Also, I would say that, do you know where the dispensary is right now, the medical dispensary? There's one on Kapahulu somewhere. I don't even know where, but it's there. So what happens is the point I would make is the that the dispensaries are in good neighborhoods. They are very clean. They are very well handled. They have a security entrance. There is nothing that doesn't fit into the neighborhoods. And I would say that I've looked into a number of them in the Seattle area. And I would say that I don't think there's any fear involved at all. And I've said at town halls for quite a number of years that revenues are really quite important, and this is a really good source of revenue without any downside. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Jacob?
Thank you, Chair Finley. Last month, or when the prosecutor Alm was here, he definitely gave a very alarmist presentation about marijuana. And his concern vocally does not match the actions of the city, right? You can go to any beach, any park in Honolulu, anywhere on this island, and you can't walk 15 feet without seeing or smelling someone smoking marijuana. That's just the reality of it. So if this is such a big concern, why is he not already doing something about it? Why is HPD already not acting? I don't want to impugn bad faith on the part of Prosecutor Alm, but his statements are not matching his actions, and that goes for the other 3 county prosecutors who have also come out against the legalization of marijuana. I think ultimately, at the end of the day, legalizing marijuana would be a nice boost for our local economy, and it would really help take away the crimes that HPD is looking at. They're not even enforcing marijuana law to begin with. We shouldn't expect them to. Let's just move it, let's tax it, let's regulate it. We'll get all the tourists coming in here who will smoke a little dope and then fly back home. They'll enjoy their Hawaiian vacation a little bit more. So let's just capitalize on it and let's get it done. Thank you.
You work on a submarine. I worry.
Chair, can I make a motion to support the concept of
I would
legalizing marijuana?
take that motion, but at this moment, we have 11 members. We need 9 members to pass anything. And listening to the discussion, I don't think we're going to get 9 members this month to either support it or oppose it. So because of that, I would hate to take a motion and have it killed.
Well, I think we could potentially put it back on the motion since we're going to discuss it, or put it back on the agenda in March, since we're going to revisit some of this anyway. So I'll make my motion to, yeah, what we
Your
could do is straw
motion
poll
is?
to support the concept of legalizing marijuana.
And I'll have to add in the bills. I haven't got them right in front of me.
Sure. I
Is
know,
there a second to this motion? Second. Okay. Any further discussion on this motion? If not, we'll do a roll call vote. Supporting the concept of legalizing cannabis.
Is it just this one bill or is it other bills included in this motion?
It's a group of bills.
yeah, I mean, we could talk about this more with the pig, but I think there's a bill that EAG hasn't endorsed, but has provided to the legislature in response to their request. So that's the bill I think I'd be most interested in specifying in my motion if necessary. But I believe the motion itself to support the concept of legalizing marijuana would give latitude to the chair or any group designated thereafter to advocate on behalf of.
I believe the numbers are House Bill 2600 and Senate Bill 3335.
Sure. So
All those-
I'll move to support those 2 pieces of legislation.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to support the concept of those 2 bills. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please take a roll call vote.
Okay, say yes, no, or abstain again. Jillian. Robert. No, not Robert. Lisa, sorry. Shotaro. Lewis.
Yes.
Melissa. Robert. Daniel.
Yes.
Ken. Jeff. Greg. And Sarah. No. Oh, wait, Chad? Oh. Uh, okay.
Chair, just as a correction, I'm not sure those two, I just looked up those two bill numbers. I'm not sure that they're related to cannabis, so maybe just go with the concept.
In any case, there were 6 in favor. We needed 9 to pass. So we'll bring this back in March. And I'd like to ask, any of you have bills that, not just me asking about, you have things that were on that list that went around a couple times that you really have an interest in, that you would like to look at?
I would like to designate all bills relating to noise.
All of the bills related to noise. Okay, all of the House bills or all the Senate bills or both? Okay, that would be House Bill 2065, Senate Bill 2889, House Bill 2251, Senate Bill 2350, and House Bill 2804. Are there any other noise bills that I missed? Oh, that's Senate Bill 3011. I think that one already got doomed, but we'll see. So, okay, those are all the noise bills I've seen. Any further discussion on the motion and the second?
I'm sorry, just a clarification, could you please repeat the motion so I can write it down exactly?
Daniel made the motion. Who made the second? Ken.
To support the noise bills on the list.
So any further discussion on noise bills? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Okay. Yes, no, abstain. Okay. Jillian. Lisa. Rotaro. Lewis.
Yes.
Robert. Okay. Oh, Melissa. Sorry. Hey. Daniel.
Yeah.
Ken. Jeff. Greg. Chad. Oh, wait, you're Mark. Oh, sorry. Oh, how do I keep my, yes? Okay. Sarah.
Since we don't know if they're amended, no.
Oh, okay. It passes.
Any other bills that we want to look at tonight? Okay, so our plan is in March to come back when all the bills are amended and take aggressive action that night with whichever bills are left in the hopper. Moving on, permitted interaction group Kalakaua street events. Greg, do you guys have a report?
Yes. Is it okay, Sarah, though? I'll give it. I'll do this as quick as I can. Knowing that this is a subjective type of an issue, and I'm a technical person with a lot of years in corporate engineering positions, I I don't want to get technical on it. I just want to basically give a summary of, I'm actually going to just read it. I'll explain what we did. So I went out personally. We all did something. So Sarah did something, and other board member, geez, Jomel did something with surveying some people, and then we got together and we discussed it. So, but we did it individually, and we had a couple of discussions together collectively. So what I did is I walked the streets on a Sunday. It was the day after a Saturday festival on Kalakaua Street. And I randomly went into different businesses and I randomly spoke to different residents that were walking around in the streets. So I surveyed businesses where I was speaking to the business representatives, or, you know, it could have been the manager of the business. And then I spoke to, again, individuals. So I'm just going to read what I have. I've got 15 businesses surveyed. And this again was, the survey was taken on Sunday, 11/12/23 from 4:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. It was the day after there was a street festival. So it was fresh in their minds. And here's the questions. And I'm just going to read the information and I'll give you a very brief summary of this. So there's just a few questions that were asked. One is the closure to the businesses. The closure of Kalakaua Avenue for street festivals adversely affects my business. And we had 1 through 5, where 1 was extremely and 5 was not at all. So this is asking businesses on Kalakaua Avenue if the street festivals would adversely affect their business. For extremely, we had 0. For very much, we had 3. For moderately, we had 5. Slightly, we had 4, and not at all, 3. So it's a bit across the map, with the most right in the middle at moderately, number 3. The next question is the closure of Kalakaua Avenue during business hours increases traffic flow and sales to my business. And we had, for 1 extremely, 0, 2 very much, 2, 3 moderately, 1, 4 slightly, 3, and 5 not at all, 9. So basically there, 9 people were saying that the closure of Kalakaua Avenue during business hours increases traffic flow. Now that's not a good thing, because you'd want more traffic flow there. Then we had a couple of other questions. Which affects your business more adversely, parades or street festivals? So there were 2 options. 1 for parades, we had 8, and 2 street festivals, 7. So that was kind of split in the middle. And the last question for businesses, if the street is to be closed, which would you prefer, parades or street festivals? And for 1 for parades, we had 8, and for street festivals, 7. It was again split right in the middle. And very quickly for the residents surveyed, I'm going to try to do this well, I guess I can only do it giving you the information. The way we asked the residents is 3 questions. I would come to Kalakaua Ave just for a street festival. Again, these are 15 people surveyed. We had 5 say that. I come to shop or for other reasons, but street festivals are fun and an added attraction. We had 6. And I come to shop or for other reasons, and the street festivals are a distraction. We had 4. So that was a little bit all over the map. Then we had a couple of questions, and I'm almost wrapped up here. The closure of Kalakaua Avenue for street festivals adversely affects me. 1 extremely, 0. 2 very much, we had 1. 3 moderately, we had 4. 4 slightly, we had 5. And 5 not at all, there were 5. So again, that was kind of across the map. And the second question, if the street is to be closed, which would you prefer, parades or street festivals? We had 9 people saying parades and 6 saying street festivals. So in just giving you that summary, I can say from discussing it and from speaking with Sarah and the people she spoke with, and from people that Jomel had spoken with, and he pooled his, I guess, apartment complex or his neighborhood, that we were seeing in general, there was, residents that were coming and visiting were in favor of it. The businesses had a little bit more of an adverse impact during the street festivals and the parades. But again, I don't want to get into a statistical analysis or try to do any kind of subjective analysis. We could all do that and we would never get to the right place. That's something a professional company should do. And ultimately, my takeaway is, in speaking to people, that the people that were positive on the festivals were very positive. They said they really enjoyed them. The businesses, for the most part, were okay with them, but there was some adverse impact. And if those are my two biggest takeaways, I think that's probably the best I can give to this group to make a decision.
So your final report is it's split.
Correct, it's split.
Does anybody on the board want to accept the report as it's a split decision? I don't think so. I think we need to go back and look a little bit more, maybe get a few more inputs, if you don't mind.
No, not at all. And just very quickly, I went into places like, I didn't want to say the names. Actually, I'm not going to say the names to keep it more of a level, but I did go into a hotel, a major hotel right in the center of the area. I went into a coffee shop that's very busy, very high traffic. I went into apparel shops, very well-known shops, a very large retailer that's very well-known throughout the country. And, those are the places that I was going into. I was trying to get a little bit of a flavor of each type of business when I did it.
I would appreciate it if you also asked, how does the traffic impact me on these when we have the street events and the parades? As far
I could
as-
do that. The only problem, Chair, is this PIG, per the way it's written, it has 3 elements to it. And I think this is the conclusion of the PIG, is giving that report. If there is a request to go back, I don't know if that is that okay? I think that's fine.
Okay,
We could do
it
that.
might come up at city council, so
Okay.
we might have to go back on this.
All right, I can get more detailed in the type of technical report that I'm used to providing.
Chair Finley, would you
Yes.
mind repeating that question that you like added?
I would like to see inputs on how it affects the residents that drive in Waikiki on street event nights from 2 p.m. till midnight.
I just want to say I want to thank the members. I want to thank Greg and Sarah and all those folks. I think they did a good job. I think they put a lot of work into it, and it's a good report. I think your suggestions are equally valid. So I think a little more information would be excellent.
Okay, we got a couple minutes left. I'd like to go into approval of minutes. We're way behind on that. Are there any corrections to the January 9th minutes as distributed by the Neighborhood Commission Office? Any corrections? And if we find some later, we can always go back and bring them back. Yeah?
I think everybody here is duty bound to read Robert's Rules of Order, what minutes should say. Minutes are strict, and opinions, if I have an opinion, or Greg has an opinion, or Sarah has an opinion, that's not what goes in the minutes. There's a resolution, there's a motion. People have the right to ask questions about what the motion is. We all have a right, once we are finished interrogating the maker of the motion, then we have 2.5 minutes to speak in favor or against it, and then we vote. That's what's included in the minutes. The fact that I think marijuana should be legalized should never be put in, or that I think that it shouldn't be legalized, it should never be. So I just suggest, just a suggestion to read Robert's Rules of Order. We can talk about it.
These are not court reports.
These actually aren't minutes. They're now doing video summaries. So they have a whole different set of rules that apply. So it's more general. But in the past, when they did minutes, they did actually include like board members' opinions. But it's a video summaries.
Okay, so I have heard no objections to the January minutes. Is that true? Fine. So by unanimous consent, the January minutes are approved. The rest, Greg has submitted a lot of changes, and I think board members should take a look at those before we vote on them. I didn't see very many in November. Did you have any stuff in November that we needed?
So if I could share the amendments or corrections to the minutes from August, September, October, November were submitted prior to the last board meeting. So they've been available for the board for quite a while. I would hope that we would be able to make a decision on them. They weren't major changes. They were factual corrections of, a vote was incorrect or something.
Okay,
They weren't,
since
fundamentally major.
I hate to say it, but I'm being waved at that our time is over, so we'll go through the rest of them next month. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
So could I just make one statement? Again, we're losing our opportunity to make our reports as vice chairs and your report, chair. So these keep getting cut off. The meeting gets cut off and deferred. I would hope that we could maybe extend this. I know we don't have a chance now, but to extend our meeting an extra half an hour in the future.
I checked earlier. I'm sorry. Our contract ends at 8:30, and we have to be out of the parking lot in about 15 or 20
Okay.
minutes.
Because we're not able, so we need to be able to give reports as sub-district vice chairs and also for you as the chair.
Yeah,
of the.
I'm trying to cut down the agenda to the point we have it at time.
Thank you.
Help us put away the tables and chairs. Please don't stack them just against the wall. Thank you.